Well, the civilian death toll in Gaza is nearing the 16,000 mark. More than half that number are women and children. The truce is truly over, and it's now back to the sound of gunfire and bombs. The once claimed safe zones are no longer secure. There's no end to this nightmare. It's every man, woman and child on their own to figure out where they will run to. Over 8 weeks into its war on Hamas and days since a week-long ceasefire ended, Israel has resumed a large-scale bombing campaign on Gaza. Residents of Khan Yunis say they are back to horrors of the war. Pressing its ground campaign deep into South Gaza, Israel is now ordering people out of the main southern city in the Gaza Strip. The IDF released a map last weekend dividing Gaza up into hundreds of numbered small districts. The Israeli military forces have now begun to ask civilians to evacuate from specific areas before the military operations begin. Israel's military posted a map on X marking a quarter of the city of Khan Yunis in yellow as territory that must be evacuated at once. 3 arrows pointing south and west indicating civilians to head farther towards the Mediterranean Sea and the Egyptian border. Residents who were left homeless said they had moved from the north to the south for their own safety, but now felt they had nowhere to go, and southern Gaza is overcrowded, having turned schools and hospitals into shelters for civilians.
They told us to move from the north to Khan Yunis, since the south is safer, and now they have bombed Khan Yunis too. Even when Khan Yunis is not safe now, and even if we move to Rafah, Rafah is not safe as well. Where do they want us to go? We are tired and will remain in our lands and houses.
Apart from Khan Yunis, several strikes were also reported at the Rafah crossing. Wounded children were taken to the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis. The spokesman for the Ministry of Health described the health situation of the wounded as extremely catastrophic.
I swear I don't know where I'm heading. I just want to go near the border so when the wall is destroyed, I can be the first out of here. If I have to take one more journey other than the one I'm already on, or just take us to the grave and be done with it.
Since the war resumed, the Israeli machinery, from the Israeli Prime Minister to the military forces, has time and again warned about the ground operation and the intensity of the war. Israeli authorities believe members of the Hamas leadership are hiding in the city, where hundreds of thousands of people have been sheltering after fleeing fighting in the north.
Yesterday and today we eliminated brigade commanders, company commanders, many operatives, and yesterday morning we started the same process in southern Gaza Strip. It will be with no less results than that, and Hamas commanders will meet the IDF everywhere in a very, very strong way.
Just as claimed by the civilians, a Lebanon-based Hamas official also said that there are no safe areas in the Gaza Strip. He said Israel had lied about there being safe areas in the south as part of a plan to trap the Palestinians with the intention of killing civilians.
Its constant call for citizens to go there was a premeditated plan and trap to commit more massacres against our people, unarmed civilians and displaced people in the south. There are no safe areas, nor in the north of the Gaza Strip, nor in the south, nor in any other areas.
The IDF that embraces the goal of destroying Hamas is on an unstoppable spree. The head of the International Committee for the Red Cross has described the suffering in Gaza as intolerable while visiting the territory. The map on your screens right now shows the latest extent of damage known to have taken place in the Gaza Strip since Israel began its bombardment following the 7th of October Hamas attack. The map proves Israel has caused extensive damage to build-up areas in the south of Gaza. It initially instructed Palestinian residents to flee to in order to avoid fighting. It is evident IDF is moving southwards. The military forces are moving an intensity which proves they are unstoppable. So, as the war intensifies and it's the civilians who are suffering the most, the big question remains: where will the South Gazans go to? Who will provide shelter and secure them? Let's talk more about this. Elijah Magnia is a war correspondent and also an analyst. He's now joining us live from Brussels. Hello, Elijah. Welcome to the show. What could justify Israel's actions of moving their operation southwards of Gaza, while earlier they had forced millions out of northern Gaza, and now Palestinians have nowhere to go and are not sure of these so-called safe zones?
Thank you for having me. Well, you asked the right question and you basically gave the answer, because the Israelis started to bomb the north, occupied 40% of it, and then yesterday they announced the beginning of their operation in the south against Khan Yunis, leaving only the Palestinians. We're talking about almost 2 out of 2.3 million, to move all of them in Rafah, which is more or less the size of an airport runway. How can you squeeze 2 million people in that area that, first of all, without water, electricity, no internet connection, no food supply, no medical assistance, because the hospitals have been damaged and non-operational, and put everybody there without homes in the winter that is started in that part of the world, and then ask them to remain there because that is safe, but above all, bombing also the vicinity of Rafah area. So this is why many Palestinians prefer to remain in their homes and be killed, or perhaps hope that it is not their turn today, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe another day, and this is where they stay because they don't have anywhere else to go. And the reason why there is such a large number of civilian casualties on every single Israeli bomb is because of the families that have fled from the north toward the south and squeezed themselves, all relative, in one place. This is why you have between 30 to 80 people in 2 rooms, all sitting together. And if they have bad luck, then the bomb will reach them and they will all die.
Elijah, leaders including the Pope say that a truce is counterproductive and what is needed now is a full ceasefire. Will that be possible, especially now that there is blame game between Israel and Hamas on who actually broke their promises?
Well, actually, it is counterproductive, because the U.S. spokesperson of the White House, John Kirby, said, as soon as the truce and the ceasefire is over, we support the regain of the military operation. So either a full ceasefire and then the cessation of all hostilities, and that will allow the exchange of prisoners and captives, or nothing at all, and then the fight is resumed. This is what's happening. So you've asked a good question about who broke the promise. Actually, on last Friday, Hamas offered to release 2 women and a man who has lost his family, a wife and 2 children, during the Israeli bombardment while in captivity, and asked to exchange with several corpses of Israelis that were killed during the Israeli bombardment. Israel refused and presented a list of 20 women, saying, we want to release all the women, to discover, to the surprise of Hamas, that 18 of these 20 women were all soldiers arrested with their guns and with their uniform. And Hamas said, for all the soldiers and the officers, because Hamas has captured 4 Israeli generals from outside Gaza, where they were in their barracks when Hamas attacked 11 Israeli military barracks. And they said, you have to clear all the prisons in exchange of the military. As a civilian, we clear them, but the military, we need to sit down and negotiate, not under the fire.
All right, I've been talking to Elijah Magnia. He's a war correspondent and also an analyst. Elijah, we're out of time. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.